War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we get together and we talk about what's going on in the world of the Auburn family spectrum. Always heavy on the sports here on this channel, but always, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. We'll talk about anything and everything here, and that is always the case with one of these live streams. Usually come prepared with a major topic to talk about, but anything is fair game that you want to discuss and share about. And I see a lot of you have already started sharing a couple of thoughts in the chat even before the show started here. So thank you for being here. By the way, this is a live show. So whether you are watching live or on the replay, we really appreciate you being here, spending a few minutes with us just to hang out and be together as the Auburn family. Today's major topic that I thought would be fun to discuss, the TJ Finley rumors and some substantiation behind that. I think it's finally got enough legs to where I can actually treat it more than just a rumor out there. So I thought that would be something to discuss today, the implications of that, good, bad, all that good stuff as well. But anything is fair game. There's a lot of other transfer news out there for Auburn sports. Auburn potentially maybe getting approval to get a Bucky's gas station at one of its exits, which I know that seems like a really stupid thing to some of you, but that's actually kind of a big deal, becoming more of a big deal lately. We can discuss that as well. Plenty of softball is in the NCAA tournament. Plenty of stuff to talk about there, but we'll get into that here in just a second. As you do come into the stream, though, do me a couple favors. If you enjoy our content here, please do make sure you smash that like button so it lets everybody else know that we're live so they can come on in and enjoy this with us. Even if you're watching on the replay, it does help as well. But if you can go ahead and post where you're watching from, city, state, international, War Eagle with that as well. Let's go ahead and get this party started. But really quickly, as always, we want to share a couple of things that you can do to help support the content that we do here on this channel. One is to listen to the podcast. Two is that you can do the Booster Club, patreon.com/E2C Network. There's also PayPal and TeePublic. The Patreon Booster Club, for those of you that are part of that, thank you so much. I haven't seen anybody pop in just yet that's part of the Booster Club, but for those of you that are, thank you. That's at the very top of the chat window. If you want to go check that out after the stream, as little as $1 a month. Get you some pretty good perks. If you're interested in at least checking that out. Also, all of these links are going to be available in the description for this video if you want to do that. If you have any trouble with any of that, wanting to look up, want some more information about any of those things, please do let me know, and I will do my best to assist you as I can. A couple of familiar faces in the chat. Stereotypical Auburn fan. Darius Whitlow, Playboy D, good to see you, my man. Thank you guys so much for being here already. Let's see. Stereotypical Auburn fan says, Scoot is going to go into the G League. They love stealing our 5 stars. Yeah, they do. Is that official? Stereotypical Auburn fan. I haven't seen that confirmed or not, but I thought that was still to be determined. But I think the bigger thing that everybody's been paying attention more is the TJ Finley news. But, there's that as well. That was also something as well, basketball-wise. Katie Johnson of Georgia. He might be an option at point guard as well. It does feel like Auburn does need another point guard option. Obviously going to have to come either through a reclassification or through a transfer situation. I think if we got that, Auburn's looking pretty good for next year. Definitely need one more point guard option to kind of sure everything up there. He also says competition's never bad. Bring TJ in. I would agree with you in most cases, and I'm not saying that that's not the case here as well. I think sometimes we'll break that down in just a second, but I think that's a good point to bring up. I really like TJ. Reminds me of Kellen Mond. Ooh, no, you wanted to remind you of Kellen Mond? I think that's what Harsin and Bobo want. We are going to run the ball with Tank, let TJ make some nice passes, and rely on our defense. The defense, though, to me, it's got a few question marks. I think now that they're bringing in some of these transfers, it's looking a little bit better. But some of those holes that were created by the transfers out, that was a little bit scary for a little bit there. Yes, Darius, you finally found your way back here. To be honest, we have not done a lot of lives lately just because of topics and stuff like that weren't really readily available. We're kind of entering the slow news cycle at this point. So there's not as, outside of the NFL draft, that's obviously over with. Baseball and softball are winding down. The news cycle is, you're going to have to get creative. You'll probably see some more creative topics from us on our podcast as well. Top 10s and, what ifs and all this kind of stuff. But summer is always interesting. We like to be a little bit creative while there's not big breaking news. SEC Media Days is kind of like the unofficial start of college athletics season, and that's not till late mid-July. So hopefully we'll have plenty to talk about within that time. Let's see. How do you like our chances to land Kaufman after the Knighton pick? I'd go 50-50 on it at this point. I mean, I don't really have a feeling one way or the other. I know that's kind of not I tend to not with these rumor situations. I think most of you know this. I tend to not get too hot or cold about something. The only reason I'm even addressing the TJ Finley stuff is because we have a little bit of legs behind what he's saying, behind what some experts are saying. So I kind of like put all that together. And, if my interpretation of any type of rumor or something like that is always where there's smoke where there is smoke, there's fire, but to what degree? I would say that the fire in the TJ Finley case is pretty warm. The other situations, Kaufman, maybe not so warm, in my view. That's just me. D says, I still like our chance with Kaufman to play safety, and Knighton will probably play the nickel. I will say this, that I'm very encouraged by our defensive back situation that we built under Coach Malzahn. I think that's going to maintain over with Derek Mason. And I think that was probably one of the more attractive things that Derek Mason saw when coming to Auburn, is him being a defensive back guy. Look at this stable of talent I already have to work with. Why would you not want to do? I mean, that makes his job already that much easier because he's already got the talent to work with. 1 year of eligibility for Knighton. I think Kaufman was a freshman this year. I can't keep all these transfers straight, guys. Chase, my man, I think I remember you. We haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back. Hope you'll be here more often. We try to do these as often as we can. We are, while I've got, I think, a large portion of you here early, I will remind you of this. We're trying to do a regular live stream on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern time-ish. Between that range. Sometimes it may start a little late, maybe even a little early, but right in that range. That is an open discussion. Like here, I have a prepared topic that I usually want to hop on when we still bounce around. On Wednesday nights, it is fair game. And you have the option to call in on the show too. Not today, but on those ones, you can definitely do that. So hope you'll be here on Wednesday nights. He reclassified. No, okay, we're kind of catching up on everybody here. I mean, our best backup is more than likely Grant Loy, and that's not a compliment. And D won't be ready till week 4. Well, no, I would say that I would agree that Grant Loy right now is the backup at quarterback. I think that's very obvious. I think Demetrius Davis will be getting ready as the season progresses. I wouldn't put numbers or weeks on it myself personally, but I do think that he will eventually solidify himself as the second option. If you don't think Demetrius Davis isn't going to see the field this time or this season, you're kidding yourself. You don't have a talent like that and not use him. Remember, they've got 4 games before they lose a year of eligibility or whatever, so you will see him. All right, on the topic at hand, TJ Finley. Yes or no in the chat right now. Quick poll the room. Yes or no. Will Auburn land TJ Finley? Let's start there with that question. Where is everyone feeling with that situation at this moment? Obviously, if I'm addressing it, you kind of know where I stand on it. As much as I don't like to substantiate rumors. So if I feel like there's a little bit of legs behind this, I obviously feel that there's some weight to it. I would not venture out and say it's going to happen 100%, but I would say that we are beyond my 50% scenario push situation. We're moving into 60% territory probably for me. Just kind of feeling the situation out, have no inside information whatsoever. But just kind of feeling it out. This one feels like that trajectory. I'll tell you my personal feelings about it in a second, whether I think it should happen. But right now, I'm just interested in what people think about the possibility of it happening. Chase says no. Darius says, all I got to say is meh. Yes. I think I read he's interested. Yes, you did. Rob, is he leaning AU? So It depends on who you ask, and it depends on who you read, remember, and as I always say, and I say this as someone who is a media entity, our job is to get you to click. Our job is to get you to follow the stuff. So, yeah. Always take that with a grain of salt. But I put a lot of stock behind Keith Niebuhr on 24/7. Personally, I think he's got the track record, and when he's discussing it thoroughly, that tells me something, along with TJ Finley addressing it himself. And, when there's rumors out there, I always say where there's smoke, there's fire, just to what degree. So you kind of combine all that stuff together, and I would say he's leaning to AU, but who else is he leaning with too? That's the question here. Is just because he's leaning to Auburn doesn't mean he's not leaning with someone else as well. So there's that part of this thing. I think we kind of get tunnel vision when we hear someone is really interested in Auburn. You forget that there's other players in this equation as well. Supposedly he's reaching out to, Bobo and Harsin are like talking with him daily. I find that hard to believe. Weekly, yes, probably. Kind of keeping in communication, but daily, probably not. What is his background? Well, he's from LSU. That's about all I know. And everybody's really excited about him. I'm not that type of insider. I don't have that kind of insight into it. Rita Eubanks, welcome. Thank you for watching from Athens, Alabama. Good to see you. Oh, my co-host is here, Gray Oldenburg of Inside the Jungle. Gray, thanks for stopping. Auburn is definitely the favorite among others like Penn State and Texas. Would he compete for the starting job, though? I don't know. That's the big question. So let's talk about that. Yes or not yes or no. If TJ Finley decides to come to Auburn, based on what you know about him, your feeling of the situation, give me a percentage of what you think the likelihood is that he would start over Bo Nix right now. What's that percentage? Does he have a top 5? I don't know that he has an official top 5, but I'll put Gray's comment back up here. He's got Penn State and Texas up there as well. So just remember that just because someone may be leaning towards Auburn right now doesn't mean that there's not other major players in this as well. How interesting would it be, though, if he went to Penn State and then Auburn and Penn State see each other, week 3? I think it is. Week 2, week 3? That would be really funny. This spring, I've been more interested in the FCS and smaller Bama colleges than ever. Speaking of Bama colleges, yes, I think while we would never want to have to go through what we did in 2020 ever again, there are always ways to look at things on the bright sides and things that would have happened or might never have happened. It forced FCS to kind of try this model of doing spring football. I have definitely seen more people talking about it now that there's no football going on. I think they lost a little bit of momentum during spring practice for major college football and that sort of thing. But I definitely think this is something that they might want to reevaluate and say, is this a model that's feasible for us to do going forward to get more attention to FCS? Because you kind of get lost in fall with major college football. So it's a great point to bring up. But then that means, you won't have them available to schedule in the in the fall for rinky-dink games. But anybody got percentages on TJ Finley? Does he start over Bo Nix? I won't put a percentage on it, but I'll say he doesn't start over Bo Nix if he comes. So then that kind of brings the question of the topic of competition. Is competition always good? I would say from a footballer standpoint, like I said, footballers like D Ford, from a football player standpoint, yes, it is always good. But from a fan perspective, from the way we react to it and the things that we say and the way we operate, is it such a good thing? Robert says, yes, he would start over Bo Nix. So what do you base that off of, Robert? Is it just a feeling? Do you got some concrete evidence you can present? I'm always interested about that. Darius says Holden Grenier, who is the recruit we have, if he stays committed, which I think he will because he's really positive about Auburn on Twitter. Yeah, and he's becoming, Auburn, well, not just Auburn, but it seems that teams find that one recruit that's your big recruiter for you, and usually it's the quarterback. Bo was that way when he was being pulled in. And, he tried to pull in guy from Georgia, wide receiver. Somebody help me out. I'm glad we didn't get him because he's a nutcase. Anyway, but he was that way as well. Demetrius, TJ, and Bo. Now that's a QB competition, not the same level. Not the same level at what's going on in T-Town. Yeah. Rob Donaldson says 10%. Have we offered Bobo's son yet? Not that I know of, but I'm sure that we will. Nix is locked in. Yeah, I would say personally that I do think that Bo Nix is going to still be the starting quarterback, at least to start with. Now, what happens when the season gets started, things get geared up, that's a whole different story, right? All we can talk about with some validity right now is what we think about how the season starts out. And to me, I don't see anybody beating out Bo Nix to start with, personally. Does that change quickly? Yes. I also think that it should, and I know there's a big bandwagon of the Auburn fan base that is on the Demetrius Davis needs to start over Bo Nix day one. If Auburn is going after TJ Finley so hard, you really need to think about that in terms of Demetrius Davis. This is not a knock at him, but what it should tell you is that Demetrius Davis is not ready yet to start as a college football quarterback. Is he extremely talented? Yes. Is he Auburn quarterback of the future? Highly likely. Is he ready yet? No. And I've been screaming that at some of y'all that just don't want to wrap that around because there's this. I'm gonna get my soapbox for just a little bit. There's a large portion of our fan base out there that just constantly want to be mad at somebody at Auburn, have a scapegoat. It was Gus. It was Kevin Steele. It was former offensive coordinator. Can't remember his name now. Arkansas guy. And now it's Bo Nix. They always got to have someone to blame. It should tell you something if Demetrius Davis is not good enough for them not to go after TJ Finley. And also should tell you something about Bo Nix, too. That maybe there is some questions about that as well. I think that's a fair statement to make both sides of the equation. But is this an indication because Demetrius Davis came in or TJ Finley that Bo Nix is still not going to be the starter? No. Could simply be an indication that TJ Finley wants to go somewhere where he can win, wants a better opportunity. And he even said, I think was quoted, if I think I can beat out Bo Nix, I'll go. That's a fair statement to say. If you think you could win the starting job, come on over here. I'm not going to say no. George Pickens, thank you. That was the one I was thinking of earlier. Oh, I'm so glad we didn't get him. I know he's a great talent, and he's going to go probably in the first round or second round of the NFL draft eventually, but head case, do not want him. Knowing Harson's mentality, he will not hesitate to bench Bo. I would disagree with you a little bit there. I think Harsin values extremely what Bo showed him in the bowl game. A lot of heart, determination. I think that is something that you cannot teach. Bo, that day, I think, earned a lot of leeway in Coach Harsin's mind. That is not to say that he won't do what's best for the team, but to say that of course, he's not going to hesitate to bench Bo if there's a better option out there. But just because his mentality means that he's going to be against Bo is not something that we want to approach that from. Can Auburn please get a left tackle from the portal? The way Auburn has been utilizing the portal, I really wish they would go get some offensive line help. I'll say this much, and I've said this till I'm blue in the face here. Auburn's problems are not Bo Nix. Auburn's problems were never the offensive scheme. Auburn's problems were the offensive line. Period. Said and done. No coach, Nick Saban, would not be successful here without a solid offensive line. Now, could he fix the offensive line? Probably so with his track record. But Coach Harsin, if he wants to be successful, has to fix the offensive line. And the defensive line too, but more so the offensive line. Casey's here. Good to see Casey from Birmingham, Alabama. Thanks. We got Birmingham and Athens officially. Nobody else has said where they're from. One thing I can say, TJ stays in the pocket. So, yeah, Rita, he I'm sure he does, and he'll probably stay in the pocket until he gets sacked, just like Bo Nix would have. And that's the thing here. And I think everybody's very excited about his pocket presence. But if your pocket doesn't last, it doesn't really matter. I will say this. Maybe he's got a little bit more confidence than Bo does right now, understandably so. But that can be shaken out of you very quickly when you keep getting popped time after time or having to run for your life time after time. I just heard John Rothenstein say Xavier Wheeler was committed to Auburn, Georgia's starting point guard. Well, if that is true, Casey, it is the continued tradition of when we are live here, breaking news happens. I don't know what it is, but it always happens here. I think we had, maybe it was Cornelius Williams announced as our wide receiver coach right when this happens. We've had a lot of things just go down right when we start talking about things. It's the funniest thing ever. Of course, it is a Monday, and if you haven't figured out, Monday is a huge news cycle for sports and news in general, but sports and Auburn sports as well. By the way, I see a lot of you are popping in. If you haven't, please do smash the like button. If you haven't already, it does help the stream out and lets other Auburn fans find us and be a part of the stream. And if you haven't, please subscribe, hit that notification bell. Got a lot of cool things that we're working on here on the network for not just over the summer, but we'll have a lot of things that that are going to be exciting for the upcoming season that you'll want to be a part of and want to be in the know about. If you're not subscribed, if you're not following the podcast, if you're not following us on social media, those are the easiest way you can do to kind of keep up with what we're doing. John is the main prediction for recruiting accounts, so I trust him. In basketball, he is definitely a very good source for that. And I love how, and if I've got him pinned right, the right name with the right person, I love how he always says, "Welcome to the jungle." Every time Auburn basketball does something really crazy, right? According to Casey, Wheeler is coming to Auburn, according to John Rothstein. But we'll see. I'll check on that unless somebody else can confirm that on that thing. I love Casey. Casey likes to come in and drop bombs sometimes. We'll see. Katie Johnson, point guard, transfer from Georgia, predicted to commit to Auburn. Well, they're not all coming to Auburn, so we're going to get one more point guard out of this thing, but we'll see what happens. Who I put stock in is my co-host, Gray Oldenburg, who says Katie Johnson's coming to Auburn. That's all I need to know. That's my co-host. Done. Said. It's over with. If y'all haven't listened to Inside the Jungle, you need to. Gray brings a lot of great perspective as a basketball player himself. So if you haven't listened to that show, you need to. I know we haven't done a show recently, but we need to get on it. Gray, we probably are getting close to having one due for ourselves. True GA fan of the house. Who is TJ Finley? Some guy wants to come to Auburn, apparently. I do think, let me go back to my topic earlier that I was discussing. Is competition good? Yes, from a football standpoint, from the player standpoint, it is always a good thing. To have someone pushing you, to have someone making you better, to have someone that could potentially take your job because it makes you perform at your highest possible level if you are a true competitor. If you're not, you'll crumble under it and somebody will take your job. And I don't think Bo Nix is that type of person. So from that standpoint, I do think that it's a good thing. Where I don't think it's a good thing is our, and I say this as a collective, not as individuals or saying that there is one large group that thinks this one. I'm just saying that there, as a collective, because we are an Auburn family, there's a tendency for us to shift and turn our allegiances away from someone if they're not serving our purposes as a collective. And my fear is that when Bo Nix will struggle at some point during the season, mainly because of the offensive line, but also for his own responsibility purposes, because of the habits that he's now formed from having to run for his life the entire time. He's got to get fixed on that himself. He's got to figure it out. But because of all that together, all you're going to hear is TJ, TJ, TJ. And then there's going to be a lot of trouble. There's going to be a lot of dissension. And what's already going to be a bit of a year where I think Auburn fans need to prepare for a less than stellar, in most Auburn fans' minds. I predicted an 8-5 season. I think that is something that you need to prepare for. And so that when I say competition may not be a good thing, from the fan perspective, from the morale and the fan base thing, that it sometimes is not a good thing. And I'm not so certain that that wouldn't happen here. So I think that's a bad case. But an overall football competition, competing to see who's the best, pushing each other, yes, bringing someone in that's talented, has the potential to take that job is going to be a good thing. Some more discussion here about Auburn basketball. Scoot Henderson bringing big news coming soon in 5 days. Yes. I think it's less than 5 days now, isn't it? He's supposed to announce what he's going to do. If Scoot reclassifies, yes, we are going to run out of room here in a second. So that's why, there's Katie Johnson out there. There's Scoot Henderson. There's a couple other names that might be options for Auburn at point guard. They're all not going to come. I would imagine one comes at this point because I think we have one more slot available, if I have my numbers still correct. That technically is JT Thor's, but the longer this goes on, the more I'm feeling JT Thor is not going to come back. And I think Rob just even asked this question. Has he decided to return? Not as of yet. He has till July 9th, I think, is the deadline for him to pull out of the NBA draft. But we'll see. That's kind of how I'm feeling right now. I have literally gone back and forth on that topic. Is Thor going to go or stay in the draft or come back? So if we have one more slot left, kind of in a pinch here. So if we pick up a point guard, that should tell you something, that JT Thor is probably not coming back. Probably. Doesn't say it, can't rule out, but maybe. We need offensive linemen, right tackle, left tackle. Yes, we have them. We need to fix them, get them set in the right direction, and we need to start establishing for the future. This is not a problem that gets fixed this season. This is a problem that gets fixed maybe not even the next season, but that third season. That third season, I think if we are not trending in the right direction offensive line-wise, that's a problem. It's a real bad problem. Casey, I believe we at least beat Alabama and LSU this year. LSU, I could see definitely might break the streak this year in Baton Rouge, but I'm going to hold judgment on Alabama. We have two spots since I'm for sure, because Whitmore is a walk-on, I think. Casey, last check I did, we have one spot left. I could be wrong. Gray, if you're still watching, maybe you can confirm that for me. I trust Gray's knowledge on this situation, but my knowledge and understanding of the situation is that we still have one spot available. Now, what that could mean is there may be someone on Auburn basketball's roster that, there we go. I got confirmation from Gray. Two spots available right now. One is Thor's if he wants it, but since the decommitment of Trey Alexander, we have another one left. There you go. Discussion done with. So you could bring in 2 point guards now if JT Thor decides not to come back. I don't see it happening, but I could be wrong. Gray thinks Katie Johnson is coming. It would be funny to start pulling in all of these like SEC schools in different sports and kind of make, Auburn's always done a great job in other sports of pulling in Georgia talent and making them better and better people too. So let's see if, and not to say that Katie Johnson is not that way, but maybe that'll happen here this time. So 2 spots available, technically 1 if we're holding the spot for JT Thor, which would make sense, right? So let's play this out a little bit. If Scoot Henderson reclassifies, I think that's an indication maybe he's coming to Auburn. If that happens, then maybe you wait and see what happens with JT Thor, and then maybe a Katie Johnson decides that he's coming to Auburn too. Maybe. We'll see. Here's what I'll say. There are a lot of players that that want to come to Auburn basketball next year because they know they've seen the trajectory of basketball, but I think they see the potential of next season and really want that. Yes, Gray did remind me, Casey, that Trey had left, and I did remember that, but I still thought there was only one spot available because of some of the transfers we had already brought in. I think Bo will shine under Harsin. I think so too. I think Bo is due for a little bit of a Jason Campbell-like story. Someone who's had already had two different offensive coordinators, and will now have a third. And if this is the relationship that's built between him and Mike Bobo and him and Coach Harsin as a quarterback guy, we could really see something budding here. And obviously, you can fix the quarterback all you want, but if you cannot protect him, you're not going to be successful. So when you couple that with a young wide receiver core who's already been shown to have talent but a propensity to drop balls, it's a recipe somewhat for, not disaster, but it's a recipe for bad things. If they can get it all fixed, if they do, Coach Harsin deserves Coach of the Year because it could be bad. But I do think Coach Harsin will do a lot of good things for Bo Nix. Is the UNC transfer Thor's replacement? I wouldn't say they're two different types of players. Thor is such a unique talent that I would not put him and Walker Kessler in the same sentence. Thor is more of a Gray. You can correct me if I've got this is just my opinion though, so I guess you don't have to correct me. Thor, while his height would suggest that he is a power forward, he's more of a small forward because of his overall body size. So in that respect, he is not his replacement. I think Walker Kessler is simply he's going to fill a role that Auburn didn't really have filled right now. You think about it, Jalen Williams was our best big man option. I love Babatunde Akingbola. He's not shown consistency yet. He's my favorite player on the team, but he's he gets so excited to slam a ball down, and then he can't even just put it in the basket because he hasn't. Sometimes we get players that don't see a lot of time, get a little overhyped, and can't just do the simple things right now. So I kind of understand that. But in terms of him being Thor's replacement, I wouldn't say he's a replacement. I would say he was an addition that when you get the opportunity to take, you take it and you make it work. Scoot will be starting point guard if he comes. Savior behind him. Then Katie Johnson looks like Green and Jasper are falling down the depth chart. I would disagree, Casey. I would say, again, I only think we're bringing in one other point guard currently. I would think in an ideal situation, what happens is we get one more point guard, JT Thor comes back, then all your spots are filled. But even if JT Thor weren't going to come back, I would personally like to leave a spot open for next season to see what happens. You never know what's going to happen in the transfer situation too. So I do think that potentially it may be wise for Coach Pearl to leave an extra spot open because you never know who might come available. You never know next recruiting cycle who might want to come to Auburn, even if it's a little bit crowded, because they see the potential of what they could accomplish here. Not just as a championship, but also in terms of getting to the NBA, which Coach Pearl has shown he is very, very capable of doing. Casey dropping the hyperboles here. Akingbola will make the NBA or go overseas, but he will be a fifth-year guy. Yeah, I do think that he will be a fifth-year guy. He's at this rate, he's not going to the NBA. Overseas, yes, I think he's got the talent to do that. But unless he just has an outstanding year, he's not going to the NBA at this moment. I think that's a fair statement to say at this point. Does he have the talent? Yes, he does. But I don't know that he has. The scouts have seen what they need to give him a chance for the NBA. Just one guy's opinion, though. All right, real quick. Anybody excited about this Bucky's coming to Auburn? I know a lot of you aren't in Auburn, but I know some of you frequent Auburn. Let me just tell you this, and I don't know when the Auburn City Council is supposed to make their decision today. It may have already happened, and maybe that's a bad sign why people aren't talking about it because it was a disappointment. If the Auburn City Council does not decide to bring, first of all, let me back up. For those of you that don't know what a Bucky's is, and it's related to sports. I know, why are you talking about this on a sports show? It's related. Bucky's is a giant gas station theme park. It's not a theme park, but it feels like that with the hype around it. Potentially coming to not the. So if you've got 3 Auburn exits, you've got the main one, you've got the more recently built one just south of it. I think it's 52, maybe, and then the one that is right there next to. I think it's not Gateway. Forget what it's called, but there's a academy there. There's a hotel up there. It's the one right before Tiger Town. The Bucky's would potentially go to the one south of the main Auburn exit, which is kind of open now and it doesn't have a lot of things around it. Bucky's would do so much for the Auburn community, but would do so much for us as Auburn football sports fans because they have tons of tailgating equipment, not specifically tailgating equipment, but just food options. This play, and you're going to have another gas option. Like, this is actually important for sports functions, especially football. So if you are not excited about that, you need to be, and you better hope that the Auburn City Council approves it because it will do tons for the city, for the university, for the students, for you as the fans. It's a big deal. All right, back to some of y'all's comments. Keyshawn Brown, the A&M linebacker who hit the portal, I talked to his dad, and he is leaning heavy towards AU. It's a good sign, right? I didn't think we would need more linebacker talent, but we'll take it, right? Monty Bates might get an offer. I think if we offer, he would come down to Auburn, Texas, LSU, or going pro. If Xavier commits in the next couple of days, indicates not getting Scuda. Yes, that would definitely be a good indication. I would agree with you there. And he is always 5 steps ahead. Casey, yes, John is a great source, but until you hear it from the school, from the player, you do not need to make anything as a solid. Love the tiger with the hat behind you. Yeah, I sometimes give you guys a little tour of what's going on. I'm blocking it now. I'm trying to move my head. It's a mirror thing. All right, so right here above my head is the Auburn tiger hat. I got a lot of cool things back here. You can't see it because of the glare, and there's stuff on the couch too, so please ignore that. But that's actually Prayer Warriors. That's Auburn and Alabama together after the 93 game. It's my late father's picture. Got a signed Cadillac picture back there, a goal line stand in the championship game against Oregon. Cam Newton obviously way up there. Came over the top. Got this like weird artistic eagle thing right here. And then I've got all these posters back here that I intended to change out with like every fall, winter sports season. So you'd have like football, volleyball, soccer, basketball, gymnastics, and then like maybe football, softball, equestrian. Baseball, softball, equestrian. Those are really old posters. Actually, it's right, but just 3 seasons late. So there you go. That's a little cue of what's going on behind me. Yeah, it would be a good option, to have Scuda come in the next season. It may not be needed this season as well. I would like to see Auburn build a basketball team and keep them for at least 3 years and have a good team every year. So, James, this is something that you're going to have to come to grips with. I don't know if I'm just obviously not picking on you, but like I say this for me as well, and it's been a learning curve for me. The way basketball you are successful is by rotating people out and getting them into the NBA. It's the same in football too. You just can't do it as quickly. So this is what Kentucky goes through. I know we have to become Kentucky to be able to beat Kentucky on a consistent basis. So you're going to have to get used to turnover. It's going to happen. This is what happens when you bring in the elite talent. They want to leave early. The days of we have a class come in and they are here for 4 or 5 years is over. You're going to see some of those. King Bola is one of the ones you'll see probably do that. But the days of that as your best players doing that is far gone. So I know that you love to see it. I'd love to see it. But you got to think about what the players want. A.U. Robinson in the house. Yes, I agree. You can never have too many linebackers. You can never have too many in each position. Maybe snapper, holder. Well, probably couldn't have too many of those either. Thoughts Thought on Gus at UCF. Will he win big there? Probably. UCF's in a pretty good situation in terms of their perception and talent, things like that. I know you're trying to be funny on that, but I think he'll have success there. And obviously, I'm a big Gus Malzahn fan, so I will be, to some degree, rooting for him. But of course, if the situation came down to it, I would want us to run Gus Malzahn and the UC Knights into the ground. And if you think that's not going to happen, if some scenario comes down where Auburn's in a mid-bowl, UCF maybe had a decent year but didn't get considered good enough to go into, the group of 5 into a Power Bowl, something like that, you can bet they will make sure that Auburn and UCF, old coach and new coach, end up together probably in the Georgia Dome. And that will sell some tickets. That will be a fun, interesting day. And boy, as I said, I hope and I believe we would run them into the ground. But boy, if Gus Malzahn won that thing, the weeping and gnashing of teeth that would take place on social media, woo! My goodness, it would just be massacre on social media. Casey, I wouldn't put much stock in that, to be honest with you. They're going to probably have a pretty decent year. We'll see, though. Obviously, this is just now. We'll see how the season gets started. If Harsin was at Boise, I'd say yes, but they're going to be going through some rough stuff here. Looking at, Louisville, maybe not. Navy, maybe not. But SMU, Cincinnati probably have a strong chance of beating out UCF right now. But I hope he does well there. All right, I think we've reached the point of the show where we kind of wrap things up. If you haven't, smash the like button if you enjoy this type of content. A lot of you already have, and thank you so much. Subscribe and hit that notification bell if you haven't too. Rapid fire questions, comments, derogatory rebuttals, anything else that you want to get my thoughts on or share from your perspective, get them out now. I'm going to just share a couple of things with you. As always, if you haven't, please do consider supporting our content in some way. We are listener and viewer supported. That is the only way we're able to do these things, to manage a podcast network with episodes ranging into the 800s now. With this YouTube channel, with our social media things, you are the reason we're able to do this. So you can help us by subscribing here so we can get monetized here. You can listen to the podcast. Those are free. There's the main podcast feed, but there's also Auburn Roots only. If you want to listen to people's Auburn story, that feed is by itself. That's actually in the very top of the chat window, along with the Booster Club that's pinned up there if you want to do that. The Booster Club is as little as $1 a month. And literally, $1 is all it takes to get you in there. Exclusive information. You can get featured on a podcast. You can get insights that nobody else is getting. You get, we put bloopers and outtakes there. All kinds of stuff is available to our Booster Club members. And I didn't see anybody pop in today, but thank you for those that have. We really appreciate you. There's also PayPal. You can, if you want to do one-time donations, and then you can do TeePublic. Get some cool gear like our logo on a T-shirt. This is not it, but if you like our logo, it can go on a T-shirt. But we've got some other related stuff in there, as if you like that kind of stuff. So there's all that. If you want to help support in any way, even just smashing that like button. Yeah, that's the good thing for Gus, right? He is taking advantage of pulling in some pretty decent talent, especially some Auburn talent. I will miss having Big Cat available with us. He'll go 11-1 next year. I wouldn't say 11-1, but I could see him going like a 10-2, a 9-3, and I think that's a pretty great start for him there. Auburn's going to a New Year's Bowl game this year. Well, I would say that's a high likelihood because there's many bowl games that aren't like the Superior Bowls that are after New Year's. So I will agree with you, Casey, even though I know that's not what you meant. I think Auburn will finish 8-4 in the season. It's my prediction that I kind of adjusted to a couple months ago when I was originally saying 7-5. But then I'm saying 8-5 with a bowl loss, because I think the type of bowls we would be eligible for at that point would put us in a situation to be with some better competition and would likely give us a situation where we might have a loss. And without knowing who that is and how the team looks right now, I can't make anything other than 50-50 analysis, and in those, it's a push situation, which I always push to Auburn losing just to prepare myself for the future. That's the only way that you can deal with this, folks. That and Auburn fans at all. If you've seen the SEC shorts thing, you'll understand what I'm saying. Yes, Gray, War Eagle to you as well, my friend, says, Inside the Jungle coming soon. We'll have plenty to talk about as soon as some of these other transfer situations get figured out. That's, I think, what we're kind of waiting on here to do more of those podcasts. Do you think Auburn has a chance at going to the Final Four next year and winning the national championship with the team we have now? Of course, we always have a chance. With the team they're assembling, I think anything other than a Sweet 16 is a disappointment. Personally, I won't go as far to say Final Four because we don't know what the other situations are. But potential, yes. Does the team itself have that opportunity? Yes. But Sweet 16 is the only thing I feel comfortable saying at this point. Do you think baseball has a chance still for postseason? And how do you think softball will do in the postseason? From what I understand, and I will be honest with you, I struggled to really stay in tune with baseball and softball because of how many games they have this season. But from what I understand, with them being in the Tallahassee regional, Florida State being the number 1 seed there, they played the other 2 teams and beaten them. So I feel pretty confident that it'll probably be Auburn and Florida State in the end of it. Because remember, these things, you play round robin, double elimination. So I feel like Auburn softball will probably be in a situation where they have to win 2 in a row against Florida State at the end to win, which will be challenging, but it's possible. They get out of that, I'll be feeling pretty good about our chances. Baseball-wise, they got a shot, but I think the way I understand it all shook out this last weekend. I think Auburn controls its destiny. I think if Auburn were to, because they're playing Missouri, because they would eliminate them, but they're in a tie with Texas A&M for the 12th spot in the SEC tournament. So I think they hold probably the tiebreaker on Texas A&M right now because of that, because they won the series. So I think if Auburn were to win the series, they'd be okay, but they really need to sweep the whole thing, which is doable. But it's going to be tough on the road in Missouri. All right, folks, I think that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I had a great crowd here on a Monday midday. Please come back this Wednesday evening. We have plans to probably have Clint Richardson on to just shoot the breeze. I'll probably do show and tell, Mr. Auburn Uniform Database guy. And hopefully we'll have plenty to talk about then with some news that's will be breaking for Auburn. But until I talk to you guys again, thanks for being here. Smash the like button on the way out, and War Eagle.